rains are here. Some would say showers of blessings, and for others, the story is different, especially for those on the floodplains. One of the most prevalent natural disasters in Nigeria is perennial flooding, as some states have consistent annual flooding during the rainy season. Flooding, some experts say, is mainly human-induced, with poor urban planning practices and inadequate environmental infrastructure, resulting in displacement of communities and loss of lives. Other factors are unregulated urban expansion without adequate planning. Effective flood forecasting and early warning systems are imperative in mitigating these adverse impacts, which is expected to aid planning across all strata. The 2024 Annual Flood Outlook unveiled by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency identifies 148 local government areas on high risk across 31 states and 249 local government areas in moderate risk zones. Already, some states have started experiencing flash floods as predicted, with some states put on red alert. Key players believe that adopting a holistic approach to flood preparedness requires a multifaceted approach through community engagement, collaboration among stakeholders to build resilience to future flood occurrences. Tonight on Weekend File, our focus is on mitigating flash flood and urban planning. And our guest is the Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Agency, Mr. Clement Nze. As usual, we'll bring you situation reports from across the states, of course, states that are dealing with floods. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguela. First, let's begin with the news. We'll begin with the pressing issue of concern. The federal government has denied signing a $150 billion Samoa agreement. At a joint press briefing in Abuja, ministers of Information and National Orientation and that of Budget and Economic Planning described trending reports on Samoa agreement as baseless and reckless, and reinstated government's commitment towards friendly policies to promote peace in the country. Salihu Guanara reports.
Reports on the Samoa Agreement by a section of the media have generated debates and different interpretations across ethnic, political and religious divide. Here, the government spokesperson, Mohammed Idris, and the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, give clarity to the misinterpretation of the Samoa Agreement they described as a vital legal document only to promote investment opportunities and bilateral relationship.
President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is unapologetic in his respect for Nigeria's constitution and sovereignty. He respects Nigeria's diversity with Muslims and Christians. He appreciates Nigerian sensitivities. He will never approve or support or engage in anything that can be damaging or that can be seen to be insensitive to our religious or other sensitivities.
And the people behind it could descend to the reckless level of attempting to set the country on fire by falsely accusing the government of signing a deal to promote LGBTQ. We found that despicable and wicked because the allegation is nowhere in the document signed on behalf of the federal government.
They said the Samoa Agreement, with 103 foundational articles and 79 articles in African regional protocols, lacks the capacity to temper with the cultural and religious norms of the country.
We call on our ulamas, and we are already engaging them, and all religious leaders from both the Muslims and the Christian faith to show understanding at this very difficult time. We will continue to engage them. We will continue to put out the truth there. We will continue to give them. That is why we came not just with the document that Nigeria signed, but the entire document relating to the whole issue of the Samoa, the so-called Samoa Agreement, the post-Cotonou Agreement. There is nothing, we have examined it. The Attorney General of the Federation has examined it, like the Honorable Minister of Budget has said, and there is nothing that is seen there that is of concern.
The document was presented to the media for public scrutiny. In Abuja, Saliu Gwanara, NTA News.
And joining us in the studio to speak further on the Samoa Agreement, we have the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Bagudu Abubakar. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
Okay, it's clear now that Nigeria has not signed a $150 billion agreement. So, for clarity's sake, what exactly is contained in the document? What did Nigeria sign?
Thank you. Earlier today, we addressed a press conference where we confirmed that Nigeria, among 79 other countries that belong to an association called Organization for African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, did enter into an agreement with the group of countries known as European Union, 27 of them. This relationship goes back to 1975, when the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States was created. And the first agreement between the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States was signed then. Equally, in the year 2000, a new agreement was signed following the expiration of the earlier agreement signed in 1975 between the EU countries, European Union countries, and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, 79 countries. And it's called the Cotonou Agreement because it was signed in Cotonou, the capital city of Lomé. The Cotonou Agreement itself was to expire in the year 2022, but it was extended up to 2023 while a new agreement was being negotiated between the European Union and those, again, the group of countries known collectively as Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, to which Nigeria is one of the 79 countries. This agreement was signed, was entered into in Samoa, one of the Pacific countries, which is a member of the OACP countries, African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, and the agreement was signed in November. But Nigeria did not sign then because countries have the option of further studying the documents and signing on or before June 30th, 2024. Nigeria did sign the agreement on June 28 and 28, 2024, and it is a framework agreement with 103 articles, general articles, which apply to all the three group of countries, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific, and equally 79 additional articles which apply to countries in the African region. In all these 182 articles, which have been reviewed by interministerial committee led by the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning because of our mandate in entering into bilateral economic relations or guiding the entry into bilateral economic relationship, together with the Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Federal Minister of Justice. We reviewed all the articles, and there is none of the articles that is offensive to our constitution, law, or morality. There is no mention of LGBTQ in the totality of the agreement. There was no offer to give Nigeria $150 billion euro. It's a framework agreement covering diverse areas: climate change, education, health, human rights, cybercrime, and so on and so forth. And what it does is it provide the enabling environment for signatory countries to approach the European Union on those areas which the cooperation covers.
Okay, Honorable Minister, if I come in now, it's good you mentioned the cooperation, talking about the benefits for Nigeria, and based on the documents, you know, I was privileged to lay my hands on them. Nigeria has benefited from the Cotonou Agreement before the Samoa Agreement. So these are some of the benefits for the country. Can you expatiate more on what Nigeria stands to gain being part of this agreement?
Well, that's what I said. Just like the Cotonou Agreement, which covered a number of areas, this equally covers different areas as diverse as just as I described, from climate-related areas to cybercrime, to terrorism, to food production, all the things that we think are of importance to Nigeria and in which cooperation with other countries can make us do better. But it does not, it's a framework agreement, which means it's an agreement which provides you the opportunity for both the federal government, subnationals, and even our private sector to approach EU and EU institutions to say, pursuant to the framework agreement, can we do this with you? Can we do that with you? It always requires and anticipates that further agreements will be entered into. For example, under the Cotonou Agreement, Nigeria benefited in different programs for the federal government, for the state government, and for the private sector, at least was 1.7 billion euro. With the Samoa Agreement, we intended that it will even be more. And this will provide the opportunity for us to access more resources, not just the federal government, but states and the private sector, because the cooperation agreements have trade facilitation, investment, investment articles that will enhance the ability of our private sector to access private capital.
Okay, and it's glad you just explained further on that aspect. But the concern for Nigerians today is the whole controversy. We're seeing, you know, misinformation flying across media, you know, outlets. How would you react to that?
We appreciate the right of Nigerians to be concerned. However, we are very clear today and in previous communication that this agreement does not contain the offensive provision being suggested, either explicitly or impliedly. Our reading of it does not show any of the articles that offend our constitution, law, or morality. And we thought that those who have maybe either of misunderstanding or who have mischievously stated this, confronted with the fact, will retract. We know, of course, some people are doing it because maybe for them it's politically expedient, but we are hurting our nation because this is not true. There is no provision as alleged, both in terms of the LGBTQ rights and indeed the offer of $150 billion. So, but we know that the majority of Nigerians who relied on the earlier misrepresentation may need more information, and that is why we take further steps to ensure that opportunities that you have provided, among other media outlets, among other very nationalistic and patriotic Nigerians, to provide outlets so that we can restate these facts. And today we presented the agreement to the media, outlets so that they can look at them and show us if there's anything that we missed out, because we certainly are clear that the offensive provisions are not in those documents. And let us all be mindful that the world is watching us as we do this. So if our media can be adamant, so some segment of our media can be adamant on something that is incorrect, this will affect certainly our perception and perception of investors.
And building a nation, Honorable Minister, requires a collective approach. What's your message, religious leaders, every strata of the society? What would you tell them?
Earlier on today, I issued an appeal that our President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had decided to confront the challenges facing our nation, not blaming anybody, not blaming the past, but taking from where he was sworn in and taking very difficult decisions, going around the world to convince people to support Nigeria. And we are achieving positive reception. Part of it is from European countries. The German Chancellor visited Nigeria. The French President had met with Mr. President. Netherlands, Denmark, visiting delegations from different European countries, among other nations. We have visited Nigeria and are acknowledging the commendable and giant steps the President had taken to reposition Nigeria, to encourage investment, and we must not discourage it by reports which are not correct and are misleading. Equally, we have seen in countries like Saudi Arabia, where Mr. President visited, how their leaders were even comparing him to their own crown prince and the commendable reform efforts. This might look trivial to some, but they are commendable achievements for Nigeria, and we need to support our president more. We need to know that we need resources from outside Nigeria, from investors, both domestic and international, in order to fund our priorities. We are not aware of any condition that is offensive to our constitution, law, or morality. And Mr. President will not agree or acquiesce for us to enter into any agreement that offends our sensitivities, our morality, our laws, or our constitution.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that proactive step taken to address the issue. And of course, the presentation of the agreement to the public, I'm sure, will ease the apprehension. He is the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Abubakar Bagudu. Thank you so much for joining us on Weekend File.
Thank you.
All right, let's turn to other issues. President Bola Tinubu is tasking the Nigerian Army to change the security architecture to meet up with the new challenges and threats in the country. He said this in a message to the grand finale of the Nigerian Army Day celebration 2024 in Jos. Bilkisu Nuhu reports.
Represented by the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, President Tinubu notes with gratitude the huge and critical role the Nigerian Army is playing for the continued existence of Nigeria over the years. He says his administration is committed to supporting the Army in the discharge of its primary role of defending the territorial integrity by building a well-equipped and professional army that remains the pride of the nation. On its part, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, says in its over 161 years of existence, the Army has matured into a highly professional and potent force in spite of the growing complex security challenges.
The Nigerian Army, under my watch, is committed to improving our social effectiveness to meet the ever-changing violence and outdated threats to the nation.
Officers and men who distinguished themselves in line of duty received various awards as guest watch, file pass, and demonstration. Representative of President Tinubu then inaugurated the new aviation platform to bring the week-long celebration to an end. In Jos, Bilkisu Nuhu, NTA News.
The Lagos Metropolitan Council, Catholic Diocese of Lagos, has admitted another 29 soldiers of the cross into a higher calling as fourth-degree knights and ladies of the Order of St. Mulumba, Nigeria. The admission and investiture ceremonies also featured the creation of new sub-councils. Diana Ajali reports.
Newly admitted knights and ladies of St. Mulumba, Chaplain, Lagos Metropolitan Council, Reverend Father Emmanuel Ayeni, charged the celebrants to live exemplary lives.
They should go out there, bear good fruits, represent their families well, represent the church well, represent also the Knights of St. Mulumba well. And then the best way they can do this is by living good and holy lives.
High points of the ceremony was the decoration of the new members, including the Director of Finance at the NTA headquarters in Abuja, Patrick Pam Bott.
Would fight in moral standards and in spirit or in prayers. More prayers for myself, my family, Nigeria and all.
You should expect more charity, dedication in the works of the Lord.
Having demonstrated commitment and resilience through 70 years of service to be elevated into the highest hierarchy of knighthood, which is the 4th degree, Supreme Knights of the Council admonished the knights and ladies to uphold the principles of the Council.
They are like candles that are lit, so they should illuminate the world with good sense of direction and a purpose.
We are the defenders of the church, defend the Catholic Church and serve the order. The order is all about charity, doing charity to the church, to the indigent ones, to the less privileged ones.
3 new sub-councils were created, bringing the total number to 32 in Lagos. The Knights of St. Mulumba was founded on the principles of Catholic action and modeled after the Sacred Order of Catholic Knighthood by the late Reverend Father Abraham Ansem Ojefua in 1953. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
In other news, Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Salihu Abdulhamid Dambas, has again been honored with an award of charity without borders by the Rotary Club of Abuja, Maitama. The recognition is coming as a result of the DJ's sterling contributions to the promotion of the mandate of Rotary International. Charles Alpha will tell us more.
I'd like to present
it was
to
the investiture of the 13th President, Rotary Club of Abuja, Maitama, Rotarian Rosamond Favor Uche, a woman whose contributions to her community, profession and Rotary is believed to exemplify the standards of a leader and a go-getter. For the next Rotary year, the Magic President, as she is fondly called, will be championing the cause of the club.
Together we'll serve with passion and dedication, making a positive impact on the world around us.
We are celebrating not only the cornerstone of leadership within this club, but the continued commitment that makes Rotary the beacon of service. NTA, the only station with a global reach.
The Director General of NTA, Salihu Abdulhamid Dambas, as part of those contributing to the ideals of Rotary Club International, was honored with the award of Charity Without Borders by the Rotary Club of Abuja, Maitama. The Executive Director, Special Duties, Adamu Sambo, received the award on his behalf.
The DJ of NTA, Comrade Salihu Abdulhamid Dambas, is a man of character, is a man of honor, is a man of integrity, who is passionate about service to the Nigerian nation and humanity. So with this award now, as a family member of Rotary, they will find him very responsive, very responsible, and dependable ally in propagating the ideals of Rotary International.
The objective of the Rotary Club of Abuja Maitama is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Congratulations to the captains steering this reputable ship. We'll go on a break now. When we come back, we'll begin our conversation on mitigating flash flood and urban planning. Don't go anywhere.